As the sun starts to set over the horizon on the Oregon coast, welcome. This is Rocken Larry Locken with Pleiadian Express Productions. And of course, I'm joined with my sometimes on and off co-host and a big part of this network, Bodacious Bridget. Today we come to talk to you about, well, dealing with the loss of a soul sibling, a star brother or sister, as Bridget and I just experienced on Facebook, somebody that we were really close to. And we'd like to talk to you about that today and some other things and working through those kind of issues and, just kind of listening to and understanding one another. With that said, I'll quit rambling and I'll bring in my very brilliant co-host, Bodacious Bridget Rao, clear over on the other coast. How are you doing tonight, sister?
I am doing a little bit better than I was yesterday, but overall, just feeling kind of all different types of emotions, a little bit of shock, a little bit of sadness, a little bit of anger, denial. Like, I feel like, they say you go through all those stages of grief, and I feel like they all came at once with this situation. But how are you feeling?
Yeah, kind of the same way. It was a shock. And then I kind of got into this feeling where I didn't know what I was feeling. I was just kind of, I guess, processing, you know what I mean? I think oddly enough, it was one of the first times in my life I've ever sat and processed something like that with all that stuff included in it. Like you said, a little bit of the guilt, shock. I'm still, of course, dealing with it, processing it. I don't, it's really, I think it's hard still even for me to put into words, and I usually never, I'm one to have a shortage of something to say.
Right. And it's just, it's not something that I've ever dealt with before. Like, I know I've lost people in my lives, and I don't know, like, it's different. And so obviously there's probably people out there that have no idea what we're talking about.
I was thinking the same thing about getting into the flow of it. But yeah, of course, Bridget, talk a little bit about what it's like. It goes into, of course, all these groups that we've been on Facebook and just meeting people and just seeing their posts day to day and talking with them. And some people really stand out in their own unique ways. And I think Derek was one of them,
Right. And so for me, the way that I would put this is, like, in the beginning of my awakening, I was alone. I didn't have a soul family. I didn't have, even a regular family that understood or accepted or knew what the hell I was doing. And so I didn't have anybody to be like, oh yeah, you're not crazy. You're just a starseed, or to get that confirmation. And so I looked for groups, and that was the time when I was listening to your shows. And it's different when you're listening to someone than when you're interacting with them. And then I met you guys in the Pleiadian group, and I met Derek, and instantly felt a connection with you all. And Derek, he had his own stuff in his life that was difficult, but even on his profile, if you looked at his profile, it said he worked at making the world a better place. And I think that was perfect for exactly what he did, because then he went and he made the Pleiadian humor group. And we talked often, and then life kind of changed gears for me here, and I wasn't online as I was in the past. And he would still reach out for readings and things like that. I know you guys talked a lot, but just recently we had a reading scheduled actually for today at 5. And last week we were supposed to do it, and he had to postpone because he said he was had a headache and not able to sleep. And I was like, oh, you should do a guided meditation specific for sleep, and maybe take a hot bath or a shower to relax you. And then it was the day before yesterday, I started seeing the post that he had passed. In one of the comments, I saw that he passed in the bathtub. And that hit me really hard. Like, I couldn't even tell people that part of it without just breaking down and crying. I made a short video talking about the importance of your soul family and reaching out, and I was brought to tears again just thinking about it. But
And where can
that's what we're talking about today.
Right. And where can you find that video if anybody wanted to see it?
That one, I posted on my Divine Essentials page on Facebook and on the on Bridget Rao YouTube channel.
Okay, yeah.
It's like 8 minutes long or something.
Yeah, and I would, yeah, totally, because Bridget Rao, to me, not to get off subject, is like one of the premier dating channelers of today. So on a side note, I would just give a little plug and encourage everybody to check that out. But Bridget, people might hear our conversation, right, and think, well, not too many people that aren't already formally, but they might think that we sound weird, like, okay, oh, this connection with somebody, but you'd have to be there to understand it, this connection of meeting people. And I can tell the same story that Bridget did about before her. I had nobody either in my awakening, and then hearing some of these people that I got to finally meet and interact with that I had spoken to before, like, well, I don't know, Greg Prescott, Julian Wells, Marianne Rada, and Lou Martin, and on and on and on, Rob Potter, and all that. But and then you get to meet these other people on Facebook, and it's just okay. Everything it's just a resonation, but not to get too much off topic. Yeah, it was kind of a wake up call for me too, in a way, Bridget, this happening, because it's like, I think even I got caught up so much in this, everything going on and mainstream, the hoopla and everything. And we all need to take the time and listen with our ears instead of our mouths more often, I think, and understand each other and realize it can all be gone. You know what? None of us are immune to anything. And man, it can, for the strangest reason, whatever, it doesn't matter. It can all be gone in a second, and I know that we all go on and to better existences and things like that. But at the same time, it's a precious experience too that we got to try to cherish while we're here. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about that, Dee?
I totally agree, and that's I was trying to figure out like the lesson or the message or whatever, and it's still fresh, and this is the first time I've experienced something like this. We make friends with people on Facebook that we don't know, but this was different. We came together in a group specifically for that to happen, for you to meet other people like yourself, people of a like mind, and you built a connection with them. And over time, I can remember that was like my life. That was all I did was, I'd get up in the morning and I'd check the group, and all day long I'd be on the group, and then before bed I'd check the group. And then as my life kind of went into a different direction, I was like less and less and less and less. But it didn't mean those people were no longer there. They're still alive. They're still out there.
I think you really hit on a keynote right there, because like you said, they're still out there. And I think that's part of the connection that people that didn't feel it maybe couldn't understand, is that, okay, we don't need to communicate all the time. And then when we do, again, for something that's just like picked up, there's none of that. It's a permanent connection of almost of trying to break through on a telepathic basis. Like, I believe, like, I've had telepathy with my twin flames, Seth Gunner's daughter, and of course 2 other people, and one of them happens to be Bridget, and one, Raquel Toombs. But we've had a little telepathy go on, Bridget, before, and it's the breaking, it's like it's that bond. I'm rambling, but
No,
I'm a little rusty. I haven't been on here in a while.
It's definitely true, because I think we evolved past that point where we needed to, get into a group chat every day, or like a thread together to feel that connection with each other. It's like we just are on the same energy and frequency. But in the beginning, it was very beneficial to have somewhere to talk about it, because it was like, I had years of all this information and stuff that I wanted to talk about it with somebody else, but I couldn't, because everybody else would think I was friggin' nuts.
Do you
and
think
that's what they're doing for us.
Right. And do you think that we forget it? Okay, right, that was a beneficial period. So do you think it's important, for us to keep in mind that, say, okay, people that are just newly awakening, you know, it's good for them to have that outlet and build that, or are they ascending at such a quicker rate that it's, you know, the groups are fine, but it's not as important in the interaction. I mean, we like that click, you know, I don't want to call it a cosmic click, but that we built at first, getting to connect, and, you know, the people that we've dealt with on there.
See, I've noticed that too, because it's like when I joined the group was like nonstop. Like there was always stuff going on, and everybody was talking to each other.
We're reminiscing. It's like, oh, it was hopping back then, wasn't it?
What?
I was sorry to interrupt. I was just saying, yeah, we're like old, we're reminiscing. It was a hopping place like that back then, huh?
It seems like completely different now. When you go to a group now, nobody's really talking. It's just memes, or like, you know, somebody will share a video. I think it's kind of moved to different areas, like where like a lot of the people I met in groups I'm friends with on my friends list now, like I still see each other. But again, there's that aspect of it where I don't have to comment on their stuff. Like I just see it and acknowledge it, and see anything from anybody for a while, and then, you know, I'll think about them, and then it pops back up into my feed. It's almost like Facebook has a way of reading your mind.
It's yeah, and it's scary because it's these algorithms they use. YouTube uses it. Google, we've known for years that if these algorithms are so smart, it's like they're. But with some of these people, it's like a psychic connection with. And do you think that I hear what you're saying about the memes and the posts? Do you think that, as somebody that came along before that, do you think that it's a matter of us being critical of that, or are they just at a higher learning rate where that's all they need is that quick glimpse? You know what I mean? Or is it a little bit of both? Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I think it's a little bit of both. I think that back then, because I was talking about this yesterday with my friend, you know, when I was awakening, the only videos that were out there was it would be like a video of pictures with words on it, or like the pre-recorded in robotic voice.
We love you very much.
Yeah, and now you're seeing more and more starseeds, light workers, empaths, whoever, making channels of information, so you're able to see face to face with these people that you're learning from. So I think it's a different type of feeling than what was available before.
Yeah, and yeah, YouTube has all that stuff. That's a good point. You're starting to. I'm really proud to see all of them doing that, but I'm not seeing as much of it posted to Facebook. It seems like Facebook's kind of dead with it, or the information's not getting to Facebook, or I don't know what's going on, but you know, maybe that's just my convoluted.
Yeah, I think because Facebook is has changed a lot, and it's like the only shit you see now is if somebody's paid for it to be sponsored across your page. And then, you know, like the friends that you have as clicked as see first, or the pages you have as see first. It's really all in how you interact with your pages, and if you're wanting to pay to see stuff. And to be honest, I don't think there's that many starseeds out there who are paying Facebook to share their stuff, because it's not, we just don't have the way to do that.
No, we don't. We're kind of like in this 50 ascended mindset, but yet trying to figure it out in 3D, how to break this thing through and network it, you know what I mean? And using funds to do that. But I think we wanted to also talk about, you know, not to get too far off topic, we want to talk about the fact that addiction plays into all this, right? As far as, you know, star seeds sometimes having issues and it leading to, you know,
right, and
like that. And I know you and I have both been through that. And you know, if you want to kind of kick off your thoughts on that subject.
all right, well, I mean, sorry, I have 7 dogs, so they can be a little testing. But yeah, the addiction part of it, I've been noticing this trend lately where more and more of the people who I am meeting in my own spiritual community nearby, they've dealt with addiction or they're in recovery. And because they're coming out and saying it, I'm finding more and more people in the community who I had no idea had issues in the past were also, you know, suffered with some form of addiction. And it seems to be just prevalent in the starseeds. it's almost like they should add that to the list of symptoms if they're not already on some of them.
They are actually. I have an old video that I have in one of the playlists, of course, on our network that talks about that we're drawn to that. You know, it's well, I didn't get into the playlist, but it's on there. It's like for new starseeds. It's like 4 videos. I feel like an idiot. I'm in a blank for what the name of the playlist is right now. But you know, it really should be. And like we were talking before, we talked about in the past, right? Well, and I did a video on this a long time ago called Starseed Addiction, but nevertheless, it seems like Bridget, we can also handle. I mean, it you know, when the shit hits the fan for us, it really hits the fan because we can go so long. We can take multiple substances, right? When in our addiction, and just be like, no, I mean, the tolerance for us it seems like also the dangerous thing is the tolerance to all this stuff. Once the starseeds get going, the sky's the limit.
Right, and also it's starseeds for myself. I mean, speaking for myself and from the people that I've communicated with, and just over the past few years of seeing this trend, it's like I talk with so many people who they were in height of addiction, and when you're in addiction like that, you have the depression, and when you have depression, you have suicide attempts, or you have those times where you probably should have been dead and you weren't. And so you survive these instances and you're like, well, I know I'm here for a reason. They won't let me die. I've thought that. There were so many times that I should have been dead that I just assumed, stop it, that spirit stepped in and saved me. And so then I feel like a lot of us have this this effect in our lives where we think that we're kind of untouchable, and that, you were saying stuff about how if you're a starseed you can't get cancer or anything like that. I think it all plays hand in hand. We kind of just, in some ways we are untouchable, and in other ways we're still human. We're not gonna be immune to death. And I think this was a big wake-up call, seeing what happened with Derek at the age of 34 passing, and knowing he had struggled in his life with alcohol and whatever else was in his life. It's just, I feel like it's just something that keeps popping up lately. And if you're out there and you're a starseed and you're suffering with addiction or depression, and it doesn't just have to be drugs, it can be any type of addiction. I mean, I know a lot of people who are addicted to food, or they're addicted to sex or gambling. We just, because of how we come into this world, it's such a harsh place. We try to numb ourselves with things, and we're looking for a connection through the drugs, but the drug is the connection. You can get high from connecting and doing the spiritual work, and that's what I realized, and that is what I believe saved me from drugs and addiction, is finding this type of stuff and being able to implement this in my life over the shit I was doing before. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that was beautifully put. I was just kind of like in a trance listening to your wisdom. No, I mean, it's spot on, totally. And it's hard to get, I think, sometimes to that place. You're lucky, right? Like what you've been through in your life, and it's lucky that you got to that point where, okay, you could do the spiritual work and get that through other ways, because it's got to be that switch kind of that clicks on too, because your body, it's hard in a 3D life to deal with reality without some kind of a starseeds are so like bored here innately, I think, and the density so heavy down here for us, right? In a way, and I think we're looking for things to just kind of self-medicate, and even maybe to help us relax a little bit, like we were talking about earlier too, before the show. Some people have a lot of anxiety, and maybe for them, they use a little bit of something to, I don't know, maybe get them in tune with whatever it is they're trying to find or deal with in their journey. But
Right. And I think we all have our different levels of stuff. And I've noticed a huge, so one of the big messages I was getting, oh, stop it. one of the big messages I was getting with what happened with Derek is that there's a lot of us out there in this community who are alone and they, need assistance. And knowing myself, we're not great at asking for it. And I think as a starseed or a light worker, it's kind of like our job to recognize that and recognize the subtle calls for help. And by what I mean with that, it's like every once in a while you'd see a post from Derek about this year I'm going to stop drinking, or I've stopped drinking for X amount of days or whatever. And it was, everybody would cheer him on through the comments. But I think what he needed more was that one-on-one reaching out and just talking to him more. And he wasn't always in a financial place to get a reading or something. And I could have easily given him readings more often or whatever, or just been there for him to talk to. It didn't have to be a reading. It could have just been talking. And I think this is a big wake-up call for me to realize that, and that we need to assist each other and communicate with each other and honor each other a lot more now than we may have been in the past.
I gotta tell you, I just gotta say this about what you just said. That right there, I was telling Sif that even that is my biggest guilt in all this, is when I was trying to say that I felt Derek needed more people. We did all that, but I could have, been there more to talk to him and answer his questions and messages, and we all get so busy. And I totally, that's, what, Bridget, that's exactly 100% what he needed, was that not only on there, but I felt like he was alone up there in Minnesota, basically, where he was in the snow. I just felt like a brother. He was a brother that was out there alone, but if anyone was, you know what I mean?
Exactly. He was there with his cats. And I think Facebook does a great job of portraying lives in a different way than they are, because I know myself, when I'm feeling down or sad about something, I'm more apt to keep that shit to myself. And there are times when I'm depressed and, really unhappy with things, but I don't put it out there because I'm also a believer in the power of attraction. And I don't want to put that negative shit out there. And so what Facebook does most of the time is it puts out all the highlights of your life and the good times. And, Derek posting about, I'm going to stop drinking, or I've been sober for so many days. But when we're not seeing those posts, we got to realize that, okay, something else is going on then. Because if they're not posting,
yep,
and what's happening? There's subtle cues.
Yeah, you know what, Bridge? Isn't it funny? I really do feel like in subtle little ways like that, isn't it? If you're in tune, the clues you can pick up on, you just hit it on the head, okay? For whatever, like if whatever they're posting, if they stop doing that, whatever it is that, like he's talking about him quitting drinking, right? And then he's not on for a day or two, or he's not posting that anymore. You wonder, it's no judgment or anything, but I think we all do it. Like, like you said, I'm depressed, and, yeah, I mean.
It's presence too. It's like, because I've actually had people in my community who I see weekly or monthly or whatever. And sometimes because there's, 7 or 8 people who come so regularly, I'm usually caught up in those people who are present with me in that time. And then, a couple weeks will go by and I'll realize that I hadn't seen somebody in a while. And then I start wondering and asking others who know that same person. And a lot of times you get the same resounding, oh, I haven't heard from them. Oh, I don't know. I think they're all right. It's those moments that are the fucking time to not wait or say, oh, I'm sure they're fine. Those are the moments where we go, okay, that person, they're in my consciousness for a reason. I'm thinking about them for a reason, because I've seen it just recently. And when I did finally speak with someone who had been pulling back, there was reasons behind why that person had been pulling back. And just by me talking to them and reaching out to them, it made a big difference, and now they're back. And not to say that they're going to go ahead and kill themselves or they're going to die with an overdose or whatever, but it's possible. So we need to really be aware of that. Like, if you care about someone, if you don't want them to be gone forever, then you need to. And I even want to apologize to you, because there's been times that I've thought about you, but knowing that we have that telepathic thing, I don't always take that extra step as to picking up the messenger to message you. And I think that in those moments, there was a reason why you were on my mind, and I should have. Even if you were fine, maybe I needed something out of that communication between the two of us. So I just,
That's interesting. I agree. You know, yeah, I agree. And like maybe like what you just said, maybe you needed something out of that, or if the situation was reversed, right? Maybe I needed something out of that, and that's the main takeaway. That maybe it wasn't. Yeah, because if it wasn't that I needed something telepathically, you and I got that bond, or it's like, okay, you know what I mean? Why would, unless we got something to say, it's already said and known. Exactly. That which brings me to a point that I was going to try to say. I was just listening to you, you know, explain that and articulate that so well, and I was thinking, you know, in that situation, Bridget, this may sound corny, but what about going to that person who maybe having that hard time and just looking at them, getting to put your hand on their shoulder, whatever, or not, and just looking in the eye and just saying, hey, are you okay? Is everything okay? I
right.
mean, like, are you okay? I know that sounds like, you know, but do it in a genuine way and said, how are you feeling? You know, not are you feeling okay, but yeah, is everything going okay? You know?
It's funny you say that, because there's someone in my community that is just so loved and so gentle and warm, and he has the energy of like a dad for me. And I remember about a year and a half ago, I was really sad, and I walked into an event that he was at, and all he had to do is exactly what you just said. He put his hand on my shoulder and said, "How are you?" And I just started bawling. And it's because he offered me that place to do it. So I think we do get a little bit uncomfortable with those moments, but sometimes people really need them. And there's nothing wrong with that.
We do. And I think on the other hand, too, right? We've lost touch with just how, you know, important doing something like that could be. Because if we even really gave it a thought, we might think, oh, okay, yeah, right, that sounds cheesy. But I think through time, of being, you know, maybe it's due to social networking and other ways and being more like unsocial with other human bodies that we've lost touch maybe with simple, hey, you know, how are you doing? How are, you know?
Right. Stop it. Sorry.
I think the dogs agree.
That's Alcyon.
Alcyone agrees. Now, if whatever Alcyone says must be the wisdom. So I guess I said something right.
You did. She's very good at that. She always tunes into exact moments that you would want her to, and she has.
Yeah, that was Hollywood-esque almost. You couldn't pay to have that happen. That was great.
she did. She's a lover. She's smart. She's a starseed dog. Um, whew. So I don't know. I mean, we kind of just came on air here, like just on a whim because it felt right. I had a reading book today with Derek at 5, and so I decided I was gonna continue to honor that and on an energetic level, hold him in my mind and take time out to at least talk and connect with that energy. And you know, later on I plan on doing like a private ceremony for him. But back to like the whole thing about us and like building a community together. Even if you don't build a community with other star seeds, if you are a star seed, everybody you interact with, you impact. Because I'm sure in Derek's world, he didn't know how many people were like just loved him and appreciated the stuff that he did. And the humor group did so much. Like, I don't know if you've had a chance to read all the comments and stuff that people have been posting, but it's just an outpouring of love. And as starseeds, I think we do that and we don't recognize it. And so even if you're just a human walking around, like getting a coffee every morning, and the people you talk to at that store see you every day, if all of a sudden you stop coming, they would notice. And I think it's important that we realize that we're making a difference just by being who we are in every moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like the way you articulated it from that kind of standpoint of from within, right? Those people would notice that you were gone. And so, look at it that way. You are important. You may think, okay, well, they're kind of important to see to me, but they don't notice me, or wouldn't think anything of me. Yes, they really do. And, yeah, I mean, it's like that. And you can build that rapport just by, looking them in the eye and just giving them a quick smile, or, how's your day going? Things like that. I mean, I feel like some old Swedes from the 50s saying that, but it's not really cheesy. It's really the reality of it. And the thing is, it takes a subtle second, and you can affect things more by doing that than having to stress yourself out and think, okay, well, I gotta go build this big rapport with somebody and have a big talk and this, that effect, or whatever. And you can have that effect in so many ways by just giving somebody a smile at the store, wherever you're at, whatever the fuck you're doing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I know myself, it's like there's been times in my life, just where it's like, I'm just going to kill myself. Nobody would care. Or like, honestly, the only thing that has prevented that a lot was the dogs, because I know they can't take care of themselves. And I think this was kind of like a wake-up call to see, like, okay, some of the stuff I'm doing probably does make a difference for people, because I do things every single day. Like, I commit to challenges for myself, where I post a meme every day of like what I resolved to do this year, or a positive affirmation or so, just something simple. But there's people out there who see them every single day, and part of me was like, does this even matter? Should I keep doing this? And so now seeing the outpouring of all the people who are like, I can't believe Derek's gone, and I can't believe I'm not going to see his posts anymore, because he would say, every morning, good morning, and every night, good night. And he would always check in with, like, if it was Monday, he'd call it Moon Day. And he was just, he was just noticed. His energy and frequency was in all of it.
It's amazing just how much he was. I mean, and it shows just how somebody isn't it funny how we take people for granted the most, who are really some of the most who are full of light. I mean, that's like, he was really, when you think about it, the backbone just subtly to a lot of happiness for people.
Exactly. He was, and that's why, like, when him and I first met, he had such an awesome energy. I'm trying to get away from the dogs. He was so funny. Like, he had that Pleiadian humor, and the Pleiadian humor group was perfect for him. And I can't remember where I was going with this now, because I'm like trying to get away from
the dogs. Attacked the Pleiadian dogs.
It's because 2 of them are puppies, and one of the girls are in heat. And I have 2 boys that are just going insane trying to hump her, and 2 little ones that are just attacking each other. So no
wonder you're still on cigarette.
And right, and that's something else that we were talking about earlier. Like, that's an addiction, and I'm addicted to Coca-Cola, and the authenticity behind that for me has been kind of difficult. Like, when I'm at events and stuff, I don't always like people to see me smoking cigarettes, and if there's new people coming, I get like a little,
for fuck's sake.
Yeah, like I get a little they show up and I have a can of Coke. But you know what?
Yeah, I went through this thing, right, when I did first Awoken, and I do, I eat fairly healthy now, vegetarian, but I quit drinking all soda, right, okay, and just juices and things like that. But fuck it, I'll drink a Coke or a Pepsi now. Either one, I can't stand any other cola. It has to be either one of the major 2 or RC, but fuck it, you know what? I don't care. That's Pleiadian style, actually, having a cigarette, Bridget, and Coke.
It is, and it's just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't stop you from being who you are. It doesn't, like, I always talk about how your intention is the biggest thing, and like, if you're trying to open sacred space and you don't have Palo Santo, it's okay. Spirit's not going to say, no, you can't open it
Define
because you
who
don't
you are.
have this. Right. And if you're somebody who smokes cigarettes, Spirit's not going to be like, well, I'm not going to communicate with you. There's no bias. There's no judgment. There's no rules. Again, as we need to, work our way into getting out of that stuff for our betterment. I think there's different levels of it. I think drinking a can of Coke and shooting heroin are a big step away from each other, but
yeah, but there's no judgment between the two. But yeah, it is. I mean, the reality of it is, you're right. Totally.
it's just one of those things. And I don't know, have you noticed, like, in all the starseeds that you meet, have you noticed that they've had addiction in one form or another?
Every goddamn one of them. Well, I won't say everyone, but the percentage that I have met that aren't is below even a 0%, probably, really, on the scale.
Right. And even, I think there's probably some out there that we don't know. But they're probably addicted to something on some level.
I'd say everyone to a T. Yeah, everyone to a T. Even those couple that I've ever met that weren't on any big level, well, they had a hell of an addiction, like you said, with something like Coca-Cola or food or even sex. But yeah, every starseed to a T, really.
Even social media now is, I've noticed there's people who are addicted. Like, they're talking about how people are, because it releases the dopamine effect in your brain when you get a like or a comment or whatever, you strive for more and more and more and more and more of that. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be anything to do with monetary value. It's almost like going back into high school. Like, I'm going to get the new pair of sneakers because everyone likes me. It's like, I'm going to put a new profile up because everyone will like it.
And it's totally substanceless, right? And the fucking fucked up thing about that is it's totally substanceless. It could be the fucking picture of one tree in the middle of the forest or a flower, whatever. No intention behind it, and you're just getting that rush, which there's no problem with posting something like that. But you could get that rush by 200-300 likes, whatever. You know what I mean? Hundreds of likes.
Yeah. And it has that same effect on the brain as taking alcohol or pills or heroin or whatever. So we're doing it in our lives all the time.
I sure wish it got me that high.
I know. In comparison to the stuff in my life, a Facebook like isn't doing it for me. But I mean, it does feel good when you get a lot of support from the people. Like, it depends on who's commenting and who's,
no question.
You know what I mean? Like, if it's just somebody I don't know, it's not the same as if it's my best friend. Like, seeing that my best friend loves something I did, I'm like, oh, it gives you that good feeling. I'm not, but
no, but some people are at that level where it really gives them that rush. Like, don't get me wrong, I love it. I mean, yeah, I do really like it, appreciate it a lot. But some people are at that level, like they're on levels where it really would be like a complete dopamine rush to the brain, and they get hooked on that.
Right.
And you lose sight, and as you get hooked on that, right, you lose focus on what's really at hand, and you're not into really the substance anymore as much of what you're posting, you're doing. You're into that rush of getting those likes after, I mean, I could see somebody being at that level. Maybe I'm wrong, I'm not, but maybe that's just judgment.
No, it's like that's where the authenticity goes out the window. Rather than them being authentic, oh my God, rather than them having authenticity about what they're posting for a dopamine effect. So that's why they're hiding when they're feeling low, and you're not hearing from them because they've got nothing good to say. But then they come back when they have something that they know is going to generate likes. So it's that same effect on the brain. It's like, all right, I'm depressed. I'm not going to post today because I'm depressed. I have nothing good to say. Nobody's going to like it. Then I don't want to bring that energy to me. But when you're feeling good, you may be authentic about what you're feeling good about, but we're still missing out on that piece of authenticity. Does that make sense what I'm trying to?
Yeah, 125,000% to the highest power. It makes sense. Yeah, it really does. It's just it's about losing perspective, right? No matter at what level you're at, and we're all susceptible to it, right? And I think maybe this is like, I mean, this is like you were saying earlier. This is a wake up call. Things like this are a wake up call.
Yeah,
You know,
this has been so many different things for me, like, because I didn't, and I'm sure if we were to talk again
a
in a
week
couple,
later, another
yeah,
telepathic connection. I was going to say that, maybe we should have done this show a week later, but exactly, like at a different time, like we could put it more into perspective after processing it. But I'm still in that trying to process it and just let it be and try to let it come to me.
right. But again, if we waited a week later, some of that authenticity is going to fall away from it, because right now, while we're processing it, we're being genuine in the moment of what we're experiencing and what we're thinking. And then a week later, we could skip out on a lot of this stuff that really maybe needed to be said.
Yeah, it would be more of a forced emotion and kind of a reflection. I totally agree that on that note, definitely that you can't recapture the feeling that you're feeling at the time. And yeah, I think that's that kind of, it was important to do it.
Yeah, on my way home tonight, I was, thinking about that and how it would have been kind of easy to just say, well, let's do it in a couple of days, when things aren't so discombobulated and we don't know. And I think we kind of both needed this, because we both had that same connection with Derek, and we both had that same connection with addiction in our lives. We've both had that same connection with wondering if what we're doing is mattering. I mean, I don't know if I'm putting words in your mouth, but I'm pretty sure you've probably felt that way at least one point or another.
Yeah, like every second of the way.
Exactly. That's part of being who we are. And I think it's important for starseeds out there who are awakening or are far along in their journey to realize that, the things that I'm posting on a day-to-day level doesn't mean that I don't have moments of, I don't know what the fuck's going on and I don't know what this means. And, connecting for others is so much easier for me than for myself. Because sometimes when we connect for ourselves get in the way of what we're trying to do. And I think we also shut down to the people around us sometimes, and we seclude ourselves because we don't want to seem needy, or what do you call it, like unsure.
Yeah, I think
We're afraid.
we're more comfortable helping people, but we get to the point where we can't do it anymore. We've got to get to help ourselves. I think we get help too to help people and reach out. Maybe sometimes when we hesitate, those are the times that we need to do it. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I go to a Reiki clinic every week where people come in and I give them healings. And, in the back of my mind when I'm there, because knowing myself and how I am, a session a week would be great for me. Like, I would really benefit from that. And not all healers are like that. Some healers receive just as much just from giving. And I do receive when I give, but there's a part of me that really needs to receive every week. And I never speak up my truth, and I never go to that vulnerable part to ask because I feel guilty asking. But this was also a wake-up call for that, to like, all right, you know what? It's okay to need help, and it's okay to ask others, and you don't always have to be the one being strong and trying to cheer up the other people. Like, you can ask for that, you can get on the table, you can call someone else, you can just ask for a kind word or a prayer. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. And I think this is also a wake-up call to the fact that we need that, like you were talking about. You do so much healing work for people, and in the things that you do, but you also, it would benefit like somebody like you to once a week have that kind of therapy for yourself to, just to, we always are students. We're always students. We never stop being either one.
Right. And it's true. Like, I think that was part of the progression for me, like going on you on the Facebook groups and stuff and communicating with everybody. Back then, that is what I needed for myself to get through the days. And now I'm at a spot where what I need are like those interactions where I actually get on a table and receive. And I think out there might be in that same spot, but they're not honoring it. And so, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with reaching out. You know, we're all healers. There's not a single person in this world that doesn't have the capacity to heal. But we also need to get on, you know, either the table and receive, or go to an event to receive, or just, you know, do a group meditation on that. You don't even have to be with the people. You can just be doing it at the same time as someone else, but just taking that time for yourself, whether it be 10, 20, 30 minutes a day, it has to be done. I was going to make a blog recently about, do light workers get a day off? Because I feel like no matter what I schedule or don't schedule, or if I'm home or if I'm out or whatever, I feel like I never actually have a day off. And I don't think we really do get a day off. We don't give ourselves that time to recoup or feel better. And I think that's something that's important, and I probably should have honored and listened to when it was coming in. And I probably will do something about it now, but it's important to give yourself a little bit of time off. Does that make sense?
Yeah, wonderful. It's always wonderfully put, definitely. Yeah, I mean, because like you were saying about we're all healers, no matter how great of a healer you ever become, you never stop yourself needing that healing.
Right. And so taking that time out for yourself, reaching out to your friends, doing whatever it is that works for you, I think is very important right now. I think that was one of these messages that came through with this whole situation. I think the message about realizing the things in our lives that we may be addicted to. I hate saying that, you know, the AA, when the first step is admitting you're powerless over something. I want people to stand in their power and take their power back away from these things that are in their lives that they may feel are controlling them, or that they need in order to move through their day-to-day activities. It's just, it all goes hand in hand. There's so many messages right now that are coming in. There's so many feelings that are coming in, but hopefully we're making a little bit of sense tonight on this show.
Yeah, I agree. You know, that AA first step, I think that the way they put it is wrong. I think maybe some of their intentions, like have, you know, using your higher power for guidance and stuff, are great. But the powerless part, it's not that you're powerless. You are all powerful. And at the same time, you know, you have help around you that's your equal, not some kind of a superior to think that you're lower. Does that make sense too?
Yes. It's, I hate that. I hate that they say that. Because I talk about that all the time with people. I'm like, I absolutely hate that that's what they want you to do, is like go in there and admit that you're powerless, and you're not powerless.
You're on a guilt trip.
Right. And it's like, okay, now you're taking these people power away, and you're going to force them to do a series of things that they don't want to do, and say a prayer every day that probably doesn't even resonate with them, because if they never went to church, like for me, I never went to church, so going to the AA meetings was like, it felt like I was in a cult.
That's the problem with anything like that. Too many starseeds need to reach out there and start creating groups where people can meet and talk. The problem is that things like that are institutionalized or oriented. And so while there could be some good in there and some good relationships, it helps them to walk over, but it's got that cult definition of mindlessly saying like prayers and the mantra and whatever. I'm so and so. I'm a fucking, you know, I'm a robot sex addict. You know, whatever.
Right. It's just, it didn't resonate for me. I know it helps a lot of people, and it has saved a lot of people's lives, and that's great. But there's a lot of people out there who it doesn't resonate for, and that's why I started I have a starseed support group that meets every other week where I live, and it's a mixture of things. It's like a place for them to come together and talk and connect and, you know, deepen their connection with, it's like, rather than just coming in and talking about their addiction and talking about all their bad experiences in their lives and hearing other people's bad experiences and stuff, I'm giving them a place where they can come learn how to get that high back into their life without going back to drugs. And rather than harping on all that bad shit that happened in their lives because of it, or because they were powerless over something, it's a different type of feeling. And I think more and more people need to start doing that. You don't have to be an expert in the topic to do it. You just have to have a compassionate spot in your body.
Yeah, that's just the problem. You don't need to be a professional. You don't need to be somebody who's in the career field to make money, that probably has never been there themselves, to give you and why they may have good intentions, some of them, they're giving you institutionalized rhetoric too. You know, and you know, you don't need to walk around the rest of your life letting your former addictions or whatever define who you are. And when you get in that mindset of that, yeah, it may work, whatever, but your mindset is always that I'm powerless to that. I was that. I'm still that little label of that. And when you break free from that thought, yeah, you were that, but it's just a part of some things you, like anything you've done in your life, whatever, like walking to an elevator. I mean, it's in the past, you know. You breathe too, so what? It's
Right.
it's a different kind of mindset. I don't know.
It makes sense. I like that. You breathe.
Yeah, you breathe. You smoke a cigarette. You fuck whatever. I don't know. I mean, you've had sex after 12. I don't know.
And I don't know. It's like, I feel like right now, like my brain is just in so many places, and I can't even like.
Mine does to the point where it's just numbing calm, dude. I'm trying to fucking break out of the calmness, try to figure it out, and maybe I can just sit in the moment.
It's crazy. It's like I've never felt this way before. Have you ever lost? Like, is this the first time you've lost somebody on a soul family level?
Oh my fucking god! Something I wasn't gonna bring up, but yes, no, I haven't. No, I haven't. So I'm echoing.
Are you still there?
Yeah, I think I was echoing on your end. But yeah, no, Bridget, I have not. But I've always wondered about if somebody that I'm not thinking of has on Facebook, and I was always wondering what it would be like if and when I did. Isn't that doesn't that sound kind of weird? That every now and then it was always on the back of my mind, and this is the first time it's happened.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I ever thought about it, to be honest. Because I hadn't had it happen, and it was like, you just don't, like, especially the people I communicate with and talk to, it's like they're young. Like, I don't, the only person I can say that I've thought about it with is my best friend, because she's older, and I know it's inevitable that she's gonna pass on before me, and well, it's really not inevitable. It could happen either way, but.
Well, that shows how weird fucking weird I am. You're right. I'm same situation as you. A lot of younger people, middle-aged people, and I had no reason I hadn't had it happen either, but I would every now and then think about it, and like, I don't know, but I'm weird. So, you know, normally somebody wouldn't think about that.
Well, I mean, I don't know. We all have different minds. We all have different thoughts, and you have been on so many different groups and so many different chats, and you've been doing this, you know, communicating with people one-on-one longer than I have. So you've had longer time to think about that, you know?
Yeah, yes, I know all too well. Yeah, definitely. Fill me on that
one. Everywhere I go, there's dogs following me.
Yeah, you know, I think we've covered a lot here. Did you have anything We've been on an hour. That's an hour point. It feels like it was time talking with you. So, do you have anything else you feel like we needed to touch on, or before we uh, give out information and conclude the broadcast? And I apologize.
I love.
I'm just, my mind is still numb over this and processing. Plus, I haven't been on air in a while. And I apologize to anybody out there who had to put up, listen to this, to put up with this rambling. But Bridget, do you have anything you really wanted to think we should touch on? Or
I'm gonna say that I 100% totally feel you right now, and I understand. And even the brief video that I made earlier, it was just like this. Like, I watched it back and I was just like rambling, and you can feel the energies different behind us, but the people who watched it still resonated and understood. And
we'll put
I think in our it's really not good. But what I've been doing lately is, because in the when I make videos, I try to make the first video where I'm being 100% authentic and just share it and not re-record or do whatever. And that was what I was doing today. And I'm like, I don't even care. I'm not gonna re-record this just because somebody might not understand what the hell I'm talking about. So somewhere in there's our message. And I feel like today, the only thing I want to add to this, oh my God, hold on one second.
Why Bridget Rao deals with the 7 wonderful, beautiful Canadian dogs of hers.
This has been such an ongoing issue for me this past 2 weeks. I haven't made videos. I haven't been doing a lot of stuff that I usually do because of them. So I'm back.
Well, that's been your light work too, guiding us with 7 great dogs. But yeah, go ahead with what you go ahead.
All right, so basically what I'm gonna do is just wrap up what it is that I've been brought to with all of this. Okay, so I do want to make it a point to just put out there, like, this is in memory of our awesome friend Derek, who did so much for people, and you can tell that we're not in a great place right now because of this. And I want each and every single person out there to recognize how beautiful they are and how much light that they shine, and that they're making a difference no matter what's going on in their lives. And to listen to the subtle cues from your friends, to pay attention to the people that you love and the people that make a difference in your life, no matter how big or small it is, and recognize the differences that you're making in people's lives, no matter how big or small it is, and to reach out when you need help, and to honor your authenticity, and to just be 100% unique, be yourself. Don't ever change anything about yourself that you're not willing to back up with authenticity. We're all here learning together. We're all growing together. We're expanding together. We need each other. We need that connection. And I want to just remind you all that it's important, the work that you're doing, whether you feel like it's not, whether you feel like you're alone, whether you're depressed, whether you're happy, it's all interconnected, and we're all making huge impacts on the earth right now. And if you're suffering with addictions in your life, if you're suffering with anything that feels like it's draining you, honor that feeling and reach out to the people around you to help you come out of that. Because I can tell you, if I was back where I was 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't be alive. And I'm losing that false belief of, spirit wouldn't let me die. And I'm owning that fact that I saved myself from that life. Because even if I survived through it, it still wasn't life. It was still a death. And I think we just need to come together, whether we're coming together in the physical or on an energetic level, and really love each other. And that's basically what I have to say about all of this. And I just want to thank you, Larry, for talking to me tonight and giving me an opportunity to express this, because the people who are in my life don't 100% get it. And I know you get it because you were a part of it.
Thank you. I love you so very much, Bridget. Seriously, you're just so wonderful. And boy, there you have it, Star Babies. I don't really know what to say after that, except for what I'd like to do is I think as we end the show, I think that, we can talk about what we've done and where you can find us typically, Bridget, but I think maybe in lieu of what's happened, is just keep the ending focused on Derek. And, Derek, where you're up there as a great, you're up there with the great spirits and we feel you. I think a lot of us have felt you. We're still feeling you. We know you're walking. It sounds stupid. We know you're over us. We can feel it. And the groups, your presence is still there, brother, to all of us who love you. And, everybody out there. And I know myself really take this advice. Listen more, calm down and listen more with your ears instead of your mouth. And, give somebody just a simple pat on the shoulder and, ask them how they're doing. How are things going? There's a way to put things. You don't have to act on a paranoid or look at them in the eye or go, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? There's a subtle way to do it from your heart, a non-judgmental place. And with that, Bridget, I just say much love to Derek. And if you want to give a final word, that's fine. But that's a wrap from Rocken.
I think that's perfect. I think that is exactly how we should have put it. And I love you, Derek, and I love you, Larry, and I love all of you.
And Derek, and everybody, here is a big, from the earth up to you, a big cosmic game kiss. Mwah!
Mwah.